Hey, it's Steph here. Now, if you listened to last week's episode of the podcast, you will know that I have recently returned from Italy. I had the absolute privilege and, that's not the word I want to use, privilege and honour to head out to support Shelley Bosworth, the amazing Shelley Bosworth, in her retreat that she was holding in Italy. We were just outside of Florence, so in Tuscany, and I flew out. Now, last week's episode, you would have known that I was talking about my fear of travelling alone, finding new places, all of those types of things. And I did it. And not only did I do it, but I delivered to the absolute best of my ability. And I am very proud of what I delivered to Shelley's retreaters. My subject was inner child, no shock there. And I was in that space helping the women to understand the concept of inner child, how our inner child learns what she learns and how she can show up in adulthood. And I'm in the zone. I'm also deepening my learning on inner child healing as well. And I'm currently on a 8-month course, I guess. I don't want to call it that because it's so much more than that. I'm working with an inner child practitioner mentor, an amazing lady that's helping me deepen my connection to little Steph to ultimately be the better practitioner, the best practitioner I possibly can. And this week I had a mentoring session in which I did some more work with my inner child. So it's very fresh in my mind. I've been working with clients this week using inner child techniques as well. And I wanted this week's episode to kind of follow a similar theme because being at that retreat and seeing the moments that the women had as a result of the work that we were doing together just really reminded me and what's the word I'm looking for? Reinstalled in me the absolute importance of this work and why I love it so much and why it's so important to me to be able to bring this level of knowledge, skills, wisdom to the women that I work with in whatever capacity I work. And this week's episode is going to focus on inner child and intimacy because our inner child can show up at any time in our lifetime. She can be present in the joy and in the sadness and everything in the middle. And I guess I also want to really reiterate that she's also forgotten in the joy. And we forget that the things that we do that we love were things that we've loved for a very long time. And one way I teach my clients to connect with their inner child is to look for the joy as well and remind ourselves of the things that we used to do, that we used to love doing before life got serious. You know, this education system is very restricting in imaginative play and carefree play without inhibitions. And, you know, the imagination we have as children seems to just disappear, but it's never gone. It's just kind of got moved to the side. And we can find our inner child in things like colouring and riding a bike and dancing and all different types of things. And that was one thing that did come up at the weekend, was about finding her joy as well as doing the other work, which can often mean dealing with past difficult life experiences. And one of the ladies on the retreat was very surprised that her inner child showed up to remind her of who she was, all of the beauty of who she was, when she'd kind of forgotten that and life had got really serious. And her inner child came in to say, please don't forget I'm here and we love to do this and we love this and we love that. And that in that moment, it was a really beautiful reminder for her to embrace herself wholly and completely, because there's things about us that make us special. Like the work I did with my inner child this week was about reconnecting to my emotions on a deeper level, because when I was younger, I suppressed them for reasons that aren't relevant. And in the session I had this week, I was able to understand what happened and just let go of some of the stuff. And in that, my inner child, so little Steph, just whilst doing the work with her, she skipped away. Like she was like, I just feel so much freer now. So it was a really beautiful moment. So But getting back to the subject that I'm choosing for this week, and that is your inner child and intimacy, because our inner child has learnt from the moment she's been brought into this world, and latter stages of pregnancy for some as well, and that includes intimacy, how intimacy is shown to us. Now, as an adult, intimacy can be a tricky subject. It can be a subject that we feel uncomfortable talking about. It can be something we feel uncomfortable experiencing as well, because intimacy, and I'm not just talking about sex here, I'm talking about tactileness, hugs, kisses, holding hands, certain, intimacy, not just the act of sex, although that comes into it massively as well. But if a small child is growing up and experiencing a form of rejection in that form of intimacy, so love is taken away when the child is bad or perceived to be behaving in a way that is bad, and intimacy is taken away, so intimacy of love or cuddles or playfulness, there could be a misconstrued belief around that. If the rejection, and I'm going to go as far as to say that all of us have a rejection wound, and some can be bigger than others, and some can show up at different times. It's not always obvious when we're feeling rejected. When you become aware of when you're feeling rejected, it's easier to see actually when it's showing up, but you don't know what you don't know. But if, let's just say, the experience you've had growing up of intimacy could be a less than helpful one. Things, you are, intimacy is expressed to you at a time when you've asked for it not to be. Intimacy is expressed to you at a time that you're not even able to consent to it. Intimacy is over given at times again, or it's given in a way that you didn't quite understand, or intimacy has been shown to you as a way of saying sorry as opposed to someone actually saying it to you. We go through our lifetime learning and absorbing from those around us that are in a position of influence to us, and we're downloading consistently and constantly. It is just like having an app on your phone or having something on your phone that you need in addition to it. So I don't know, last week I downloaded Google Translator because I thought I'm going to give myself a helping hand here. I'm going to a country where I don't speak the language, and if I can't communicate and they can't communicate with me, I've got to find a way to do that. So I downloaded the app and I downloaded Google Translate. Now, I didn't need it because lots of people speak English because, we are a very ignorant race and we don't speak any other language. But I downloaded that to give myself that knowledge. And as children, we're doing that. We are downloading unconsciously things from people that are around us all the time. And sometimes the downloads aren't helpful to us. Sometimes we've got things on our phone and we look at it and go, I don't need that app on my phone anymore, and we delete it. As children, we can't do that. We can't look and just say, well, that's not a healthy, helpful download I've just taken or I've just absorbed. Therefore, I'm going to remove that now from my hard drive. We don't have that capability when we're younger. We evolve around it. We encompass it into our life. So if we see, certainly generations ago, where intimacy, PDAs, public displays of affection, all of that sort of stuff was not something you did. Like it's all done behind closed doors, whether that's tell someone that you love them, hold their hand, give them a hug, or anything further than that. And it's done in a certain way. That's how we're going to move through the world. I'm not an overly tactile person. However, with people that I have in my circle, I am in a way that I want it to be. I think we have to get used to asking people if they want hugs, if it's okay to hug, if it's okay to express ourselves in that way. But I move through a world in which I don't always need a hug. But my husband is very tactile, and he does like that kind of skin to skin holding hands, and I'm fine with that as well. So, and that's just based on my map of the world and what I've experienced and how I grew up and what I have seen and absorbed in my lifetime. Now, coming back to the rejection wound, if, for example, and I'm talking about intimacy between two people here, if one party in that scenario craves affection, craves tactileness, because it was lacking, it was missing, it was removed from them as a small child. And in adulthood, they don't get it from their partner, and the partner is not, for whatever reason, giving them that kind of skin to skinness. That to them could be seen as a form of rejection. Now, the other person may not be rejecting them at all. In their opinion, their map of the world is, I just don't want that level of intimacy or tactileness. But it can be so easily misconstrued between the two. And if no one's communicating, or if no one even has an awareness of what their map of the world looks like, what their inner child is needing, and what they were lacking, and how they can reparent that inner child themselves, you have two people coming to a table, metaphorically, with two inner childs showing up, and both unable to kind of fathom what the other is getting really frustrated in a scenario. So the other party might just be, I don't want that to happen. I don't want you to stroke my back. I don't want you to hug me all the time. I don't want that. Now, that could be because it's been enforced on them without consent in the past, and then in order to feel safe, they back away from that. Or it could be that form of approach is something they didn't experience and therefore don't really need. There's loads of things that could be coming to the table here. But when we have an awareness, and I guess this is the point I want to make today, is when we do have that connection to our inner child, and we can be aware of where she's showing up, where some of the learnings of our lifetime are showing up and causing us to have a difficult experience, we can do the work with that. So if your inner child feels rejection when your partner pulls away because you are craving reassurance, connection, that kind of skin to skin, and they don't require that, and they don't understand your need to require that, the younger person in you could be showing up and playing that out and feeling so deeply hurt, or getting the hump, or sulking, or coming forward with these childlike behaviours. And I just find all of this fascinating. The more and more I learn, the more and more I work with little Steph, and have these beautiful discussions with my mentor, the more I work with my clients, the more I listen to what people are saying when I'm in circles, I can clearly see, in most cases, where their inner child is showing up, where she's saying, hello, I need a little bit of help here. I just think this is it brings such value to conversation. Because if you have an awareness, you can communicate that. You can say to your partner or your friend or whoever, when you do this, when I go to touch your hand and you pull away, that really makes me feel, I feel such a deep sense of rejection that I know where it's coming from, and I know it's nothing to do with you. Unless they're actually saying to you, I don't want you, I don't want to be around you, I don't want this relationship anymore. In most cases, that's not the case at all. There's just a different set of maps going on, with the inner child kind of standing in that map going, I need this, and the other person's going, well, I don't need that. It's a really beautiful thing, and I would actively encourage you to start thinking about intimacy in your life, how it shows up, and the ways in which you respond. So, just for today, as you move through your day or your week, I would love you to consciously become aware of how your inner child is showing up in relation to intimacy. And again, I'm not talking about sex here, I am talking about intimacy. How she shows up in friendships. What do you need from those friendships? Do you need hugs to feel reassured, to feel connected to those people? From your life partner, if you have one, how does she show up and what does she need from them? Are they able to give her what she needs? Or is there a conversation that needs to happen about, this is what's going on for me? I would love to hear how this lands for you as well. You know, I've covered a deep subject here in about 15 minutes. because that's my intention with the podcast, to always be short, sharp and punchy. But I would love to know how this lands with you. So do come over to the WhatsApp group, link in the show notes, or DM me on Instagram, or just drop an email to me. All the details are in the show notes. I'd love to hear how this lands with you. And if you are interested in exploring this as an option, as in understanding your inner child, come and have a conversation with me as well, because I would love to support you to reconnect to her, all of her, the joy, the fun, and all of the stuff that may have come after that, and help you to really work with her in a really beautiful and kind and compassionate way. Until next time.